Everyone. Get started in just a moment. Can everybody hear me okay? Cool. Just to let you know how this webinar is going to go, you've got, I think a lot of you have already found the little chat box. I'm going to be answering some of your questions in real time. So please do feel free to talk with other folks in this webinar about stuff you're interested in. Let me know if there's any questions I can help you with. But if you look down at the bottom of your screen, there's also an Ask a Question tab. If you've got a question that you want to make sure gets answered and it doesn't get sort of mixed up and lost in the chatter. Hello, everyone. I love doing these webinars because we always get really lovely people saying hello from all over the world. And it looks like we've got folks dialing in from Norway, from the US, from France, from Argentina. Oh, hey, and someone from just up the way in London. This webinar is probably going to be most useful for folks who are absolute beginners to learning to code, or folks who are sort of false beginners. You've done a little bit, but you don't really feel like you're an expert yet. So we're going to be just looking at a couple of different completely free resources. Some of these resources do have things that you can pay for, a premium model or certificates, but we're really going to be focusing on the free stuff. It's absolutely possible to learn to program completely for free, and it's something that I really think is a valuable thing to look at. One thing I'm going to address before we get started is often people ask, what's the best programming language for me to learn? So folks who are in the webinar right now, do you have an idea of what kind of programming language you want to learn or are learning? Or are you sort of just looking to learn programming more in general? So one thing I always warn people about is programmers and technologists always have really firm ideas of what the best idea is. If you ask somebody who does a lot of Python what programming language you should learn, they're probably going to suggest Python because that's what they do. Ask somebody who does Java all the time, they're probably going to say, oh, you should totally try Java because that's what they love. I always try and recommend that you learn the programming language you have the most resources for. So sometimes you have a project in mind, you have something you really want to build. I want to build a website for my business. I want to build a mobile app. If you've got a really clear idea of what you want to build, you may want to learn a programming language that fits with that. So if you want to build for the web, learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript might make sense. If you really want to get into building the next new Android app, getting into Java might be a really good fit. But we're going to take a look at languages from resources from a number of different languages. And we're going to take a look at resources from a bunch of different learning styles. Really, it doesn't matter what your first language is, as long as you have a good experience and as long as you have a good community to work from. So let's get started looking at some of this. One of the first resources we're going to take a look at is edX, and I really, really like edX. edX is a nonprofit, and they do some really great things with MOOCs, sort of big online learning courses. And they've got really impressive universities that have courses with them. So in case you want to put something on your resume or on your CV, say, oh, you know, I'm teaching myself to program. By the way, I just did this course with Harvard. It's really, really fantastic. So you will have to sign in, you will register just to track what you've been doing. But here we've got a lot of really interesting things. Looking at the courses for here, we're going to be focusing on computer science, but edX is a fantastic way to learn about art or about music, essentially anything. One thing I really enjoy about edX is they balance a lot of really hands-on programming classes. So here we have an Introduction to Java course, but they balance that with a lot of higher end, sort of more advanced courses and some computer science fundamentals. So here's one from the University of Washington, and it's looking at your career path for cybersecurity. I really enjoy this type of learning. It's largely focused on lectures done by video. You then get the opportunity to follow along and chat with your class. It's a really fantastic opportunity not just to take the courses and learn something, but also many of the courses have a professional certificate program. Those aren't free, I'm sorry. But if you want to have a certificate to say, I took all of these courses, here was my score, this might be a really good way to demonstrate value for a potential employer. So the edX courses cover Java, they've got Ruby, they've got cybersecurity. There's tons of stuff. Essentially anything you want to learn will eventually prop up in here. So this is a MOOC, a massive online course. And the other one I really enjoy is FutureLearn, and they do something really similar. And I want to be a little bit cautious because everybody's got biases and everybody brings their biases into everything they do. I really love FutureLearn, but I also work for them. So please investigate this and make sure it's the best fit for you. I quite like it, but I'm biased. Coming in here, we've got the opportunity to look at, very similar to edX, what kinds of things we might want to study. We're focusing on tech and coding, but in case you do want to take a break from coding and learn about architecture, it's also pretty cool. And these courses are really similar. So you've got basic tech literacy courses balanced with more advanced data mining, cybersecurity. There's quite a bit going on. If you want something that's a little bit less MOOC-like, that doesn't have videos and then questions you can answer, or that has that and has a little bit more going on, has anybody heard of Khan Academy yet? So Khan Academy is another nonprofit venture in the education space. Oh, I'm getting some messages that some folks are having some problems with video streams loading. I'm really sorry to hear that. Just to let you know, I'm going to go ahead and send out an email with all of these resources attached afterwards. And we can make the video available afterwards where it's a non-live stream. I really enjoy Khan Academy's computer science and programming work, not just because they teach really fantastic stuff. So they'll teach you JavaScript, HTML, CSS. They would like you to donate if you feel like it because they are a nonprofit. But they also teach a lot of the basics, a lot of the fundamentals of what programming means and what the computer science fundamentals behind it are. Khan Academy is really interesting, not just to watch these great videos, but you've got the opportunity to code in browser right here. Here you've got people answering questions, asking questions, and a really fantastic community built around it. One of the other things I really like about Khan Academy is they've taken all of their courses. They've taken all of their courses and they've built them into a single dashboard. Oh, you've caught me revising math. So you can say, do you know what? These are how we're going to learn about programming. Here's how we're going to learn about computer science. And these two feed into each other very carefully. So these are the MOOCs we've been looking at so far. And to recap, we've looked at edX, we've looked at FutureLearn, and we've looked at Khan Academy. Does anybody have any questions about using MOOCs to learn about programming? Cool, no questions, that's just fine. So these courses, these MOOCs are largely based around watching short videos, doing short activities, and really jumping in and learning a little bit about them. So we've got a question asking whether or not they have practice sessions as well. And this varies depending on the platform. So Khan Academy does have some space to program in the browser. Most of them will guide you to programming on your own computer. So they're going to encourage you to get your own text editor and to build along with it. So there will be practical hands-on parts of all of these courses. It's a really fantastic question. Thank you very much. Cool. And another really fantastic question is, what happens if you run into an issue? What happens if you get stuck using one of these MOOCs? I think that's a really fantastic question. These online courses and these communities all come with other people who are learning alongside you. So there are other learners who are really excited to ask questions when they get stuck, but at the same time, answer questions where they can. So if we come back to Khan Academy, and we come into the first of their programming ones is an intro to JavaScript course where you're learning to draw in browser, which is pretty fun. Let's come to the challenge. A challenge is a really common place to get stuck. So here, we've been given the challenge to build a snowman. Don't worry if none of this makes sense yet. You can go ahead and follow along if you want. But let's say I've skipped ahead, or I wasn't paying fantastic attention in the last class. If I come down to the bottom, there should be, oh, this one doesn't have a chat at the bottom, but it does have a cheat sheet. So you do have all of the information you need to solve your problem here. And most of these also have small spaces for you to chat to other learners. So here we've got a lesson on making drawings with code. If we come down to the bottom, we've got questions and answers. So they give you a lot of space to look up what the potential answer is, but you can also ask other people. So you say, for example, this is a fantastic question. Someone's asked, in the video we're watching, why does the person programming skip a line for every new command? This is a fantastic question to ask, and you've got 10 people answering it with all different really interesting things. Fantastic. So we've been looking at very course-based stuff that feels like big classes and kind of feels a bit like a classroom, but it's learn at your own pace and its distance. And most importantly, it's free. We're going to stick on free stuff, but we're going to move and look at some things that look a bit more sort of like online learning environments in a different way, a little bit less video focused. The next one, Upskill, is kind of a cross between a hands-on tutorial and a video one. I haven't personally used this one with learners yet, but I've heard some really fantastic things. If any of you do try Upskill, please pop me a note and let me know how you got on. I'd really love some learner feedback on this. So this is really exciting because this is covering full stack web development. And full stack is one of those tech terms that sounds a bit mysterious. Full stack. Here it just means that you're doing front-end development on the web, and front-end is anything you can see in your browser. So whenever you do work on the front end, you can generally see it as you build. And back-end, which is sort of the stuff that powers everything, the invisible stuff that's also very important. Somebody who's a full-stack developer can do the front-end work that you can see in your browser, but is also able to do back-end stuff. So here, this is a course that'll take you hours of time. It's going to take you quite a bit of time, but it's going to teach you HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And it's going to do that through really hands-on things. I'm really interested to do some more research into this one myself, but please do let me know if you try this out. This has got some really, really wonderful ways to explore valuable things. So comments in your code, why do you do them and why do they matter? We've got a little video. Maybe I should join to unlock. But we've got videos and activities included. And this is fantastic if you really know what you want to do. You say, you know what, I absolutely want to be a full stack web developer. But if you're not a beginner, or if you're a beginner in a specific technology, I'm going to show you one of my favorite tools for picking up just one skill. So here for Upskill, we've got HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Ruby. We've got a lot of different things all going on in the same course. This website's called CodeAcademy. Has anybody here tried using CodeAcademy before, or have you heard of it? Cool, so we've got a mix of folks. We've got some folks here who haven't used it all yet, and that's fine. We've got some folks who've heard of it. And we've got somebody, Celia says she's just started last week. Celia, how exciting. Yeah, they've got a free weekend. A lot of their courses are going to continue to be free. They do have some paid offerings as well. So what we're going to look at here is they do have the longer, more complete sort of learning pathways that are a lot like what we were just looking at Upskill. You've got 10 weeks of learning to build websites, for example. But one thing I think is really exciting about Code Academy is you've got a combination of skills-based experiences and project-based experiences. If you come and say, do you know what I really want to do is I want to build a website, they've got an online learning environment just for you. You can absolutely pay, but I'm going to pass. This one's really, really exciting to me. You've got the opportunity to build all your, build all your code in the browser. It's giving you all the information you need to get set up. But Code Academy is also really interesting because it gives you the opportunity just to learn on skills. It gives you the opportunity just to learn specific skills. If I don't want to learn to make a website, I just want to learn React, let's say. I just want to learn one technical issue. I want to learn one JavaScript library, or I want to learn Node, or I want to learn Ruby. So it's a really great mix of more complete, here's how you learn to do a big project, and more discrete, here's how you learn a single thing. They do ask you to upgrade. They do charge you for some things. But overall, it's a really robust way to pick up a lot of different projects. Cool. Has anybody here heard of FreeCodeCamp? Much in the same way that I guess parents don't want to have a favorite child, I don't want to have a favorite free online learning resource. But if I had to pick just one to share with people, and it would probably be FreeCodeCamp. It's all completely free. It's run by volunteers. It's open sourced. They do have some employees working on it, and they're doing a fantastic job. So FreeCodeCamp is going to take you through, it's mostly focused on front-end web work, and it's really fantastic. It's got really, really good educational underpinnings. It's got really fantastic small, discrete steps. And my favorite thing is it's got a really fantastic community around it. When I'm working one-on-one with folks who want to learn to program, I generally use FreeCodeCamp first with them because it's a great opportunity to be really independent while you learn. One thing I really like about FreeCodeCamp as well is it gives you a lot of different ways to sign up. You can sign up with email these days, or you can sign in with GitHub. Does anybody here have a GitHub account? I'm not trying to bully you to sign up for a million different services, but you're probably going to want to sign up for something, either GitHub or something like GitHub. Don't worry if you haven't gotten started using GitHub yet. And there's other options. You can also use GitLab. You can use Bitbucket. There are other things you can do that are in the GitHub space. But GitHub and programs like this, it's a little bit like Instagram for your code. It's someplace where you can write code or write programs or put up something you've built, and other people can check it out if they want to. So if I'm going to, somebody's asked, what's GitHub? So let's take a look at GitHub. I love being able to do this in real time. GitHub is a web, let me sign in. GitHub is a website that lets you, GitHub is a website that I've put on two-factor authentication for. But it lets you put the code you've written up on the web. Hang on just a second. And share that with people. So it's kind of like an online library for your code. So here I've got a bunch of different things I've been looking at. So here are different projects. But here's something I've been working on in my free time. So this is a very messy React app I've been building with my husband. And this is just where I can write some code and then I'll let it sit here. So here I've got CSS as sort of the styling for the website. This is the CSS we've written. And this is this is the CSS that comes packed with React app. So GitHub's just a really good way to show other people what you've built, but also build things with other people. Git is a form of version control. And this is a little bit of a segue, but version control is really cool. So if you imagine a typical program or a typical website, you could have hundreds or even thousands of lines of code. And it's probably not just one person working on that. So what happens with version control is you can have multiple people working on the same thing, and you check things in and out. You say, hey, give me the most recent code you have for this project. And it gives it to you. And then you have to check it back in. You say, well, I've made some changes. Here you go. And before it accepts your changes, it's going to check and see what other people have done. So say, hey, both of you have changed this line of code. Which one should I keep? It's also fantastic because if you mess something up, which is absolutely okay, everyone messes up all the time. Version control can act as a time machine. You've got the opportunity to say, well, I built this and I changed it and now it's broken. Give me the version from last week. Give me the version from 2 hours ago. So GitHub is not just a really exciting website for sharing your code, peeking at other people's code, and working on projects together, but it's a great way to save you from your future self. If you do start using FreeCodeCamp, FreeCodeCamp is going to request that you create a GitHub account so that you can share your code with them. I really enjoy FreeCodeCamp because it's got so many challenges. It'll take you through, from the very beginning, it's going to start you by teaching you about how FreeCodeCamp works. And every time you go on to the next step, you get a little point, which are terribly rewarding. Gamified learning is a pretty fun way to learn. All in all, if you want to do their front-end certification, they estimate that it should take you about 1,600 hours. That's a lot of hours, but it's going to be okay. The really nice thing about FreeCodeCamp is if you continue using it and get to the advanced levels, they're going to connect you with nonprofits that need websites built. So you've got the opportunity to do real work. I mean, for free, I'm sorry. But you're going to do work and build a portfolio to help out people who need it. So you've got the opportunity to build real life experience through FreeCodeCamp by building free websites for nonprofits. Overall, it's one of my favorite Learn to Code resources available right now. It's always free, but as a nonprofit, you do have the option to donate if you want to. It's a nice thing to do, but don't worry about it too much. You're just getting started. So far we've talked about edX, FutureLearn, Khan Academy. We've talked about Code Academy, and we've talked about FutureLearn. And these have all primarily been courses that are aimed at beginners. It's very, very beginner friendly. While FreeCodeCamp is undeniably one of my favorite learning resources for beginners, the next thing we're going to take a look at is one of my favorite sort of communities for learning and sharing and coding online. Has anybody heard of Glitch? Cool. So folks don't seem to have heard of Glitch yet. I really enjoy Glitch. I don't work for them. I don't have anything to do with them. I just really love the work they're doing. So they have a lot of resources, and they make it really, really easy to host your code and share. And they've got a very old picture of me because my GitHub picture is terribly old. So this is really fun. You sign in, and you've got the opportunity to build projects and then share them. Starting a new project's really easy. It doesn't bring you into big, scary questions. It's not asking you what kind of environment you want, what you want to do. Here it's saying, do you want to build an application? And Node is a JavaScript framework, but that doesn't even matter. Here, what we care about is, do you want to build an app or do you want to build a website? And coming to this, it's really friendly. So Glitch is pretty. I'd say, I'm going to go ahead and say Glitch is cute. But look how great this is. It's telling me what all of these different files are. So you know what? You're going to build a website. But while you're building the website, look, these are the files that make up your website. And here I'm going to tell you what they do as part of the tutorial. So Glitch is really, really fantastic for getting started and learning in a really hands-on way. Who here really hates videos for learning? Cool. I sometimes hate videos for learning. You don't want to wait, do you? You just want to do it now. If you don't want to read the instructions and if you don't want to wait for a video, Glitch is a fantastic way to start now and start learning as you go. And the cool thing is you've got a really fantastic opportunity to share this with other people in the Glitch community, and they can share their projects with you. So let's not build this website right now. Let's come back. Look at all these different things we can learn. I can learn Alexa skills, WebVR. I can learn React, which is very hot right now. And here they've broken it down. Say, you know what? Here's some things other people have built or things that we've built that are good work tools. Here are some bots, like little automatic robots that do stuff, or music projects. If you start to learn a little bit and you want to learn more things, these are great opportunities to see what other people have made and really pull apart the code in the same way you could at GitHub. They've got some really good learn to code resources as well. I'm really excited about what Glitch is doing these days. I've not been a beginner for a little bit. So if any of you are absolute true beginners and you've never written any code before, if you do try this, please let me know how you like Glitch. I'd really love to get some more information on how this works for beginners in the wild. I love it, but I'm not sure that's a great endorsement for beginners. So we did a poll with a lot of you being really fantastic about telling me what kind of skill level you had. And we had about a quarter of the people joining this saying that they've never done any programming before. And that's so exciting. If you've done no programming ever, something like Code Academy, something like FreeCodeCamp, things like the videos on edX or on FutureLearn might be a fantastic fit for you. But we also had a lot of people say, I've done some programming, I've done some tutorials. And we even had people say, you know what, I can code. I just haven't done it in a while. So once you've done this, once you've gotten through the beginner stage, I really want to introduce you to something that's a more advanced environment. So Exorcism, very clever name, the little devil horns, is a more advanced coding environment where it gives you problems to solve in different languages. And here you're going to find a lot of languages you may not see in the beginner stuff. So Go is a really popular language that the folks at Google have turned out. Perl is a really, really fun language that's a little bit challenging. I think it's a little bit challenging. But here you've got different problems. Haskell's a functional programming language that I don't understand at all, so we'll click on this. And here it's going to tell you about the language first. And then it's going to tell you about which exercises are available. And they've got ones from a little bit easy. Well, probably not easy for me. But then as you go down, you get more and more advanced ones. I really like Exorcism because it gives you the opportunity to set up your own coding environment. And somebody's asked a really fantastic question. What is a coding environment? Thank you very much for pulling me up on that. That's a little bit unfair for me to just say coding environment. So when we were looking at FreeCodeCamp and we were looking at Code Academy, you write your code in a little box in the browser, and then it shows you what the results are. But in the real world, it doesn't really work like that. In the real world, you're either going to be using Vim, which you're probably not going to be using as a beginner. So let's just ignore that Vim exists for right now. You'll generally be writing your code in some kind of text editor, which sounds a bit like, are you asking me to write this in Word? But you're going to be writing it in a text editor or a program that lets you code in it. And it's just going to let you write your code and save it to files with the right extension. So if you're building a website, you're probably going to want a CSS file, an HTML file, and maybe a JavaScript file. A coding environment's just the setup on your computer that lets you build in whatever language you're looking to do. A lot of times that can be really challenging for beginners. FreeCodeCamp is fantastic for walking you through how to set up a coding environment and what's going to work best for you. I really appreciate that Exorcism also does the same thing. So oftentimes when you're working with a new programming language, there's often some setup. It says, hey, make sure that you've installed the language. Make sure that you've installed libraries. And Exorcism's really good about that. They say, well, you're going to be, if it says, hey, we're going to be doing some Haskell, here's how you can install Haskell to get started. Don't worry if this looks weird. Don't worry if this looks scary. There's also a really fantastic community with Exorcism. When you get stuck, and it's fine if you get stuck, you can go ahead and ask, and other people will come and help you. You can also share. If you solve a problem, you can share your results and sort of brag a little bit and say, hey, here's how I solved it. How'd you do it? The last thing I'm going to show you, and I think is the most important thing, with learning to program, the language you learn is not that important. It can be important for the project you want to do, and it can be important for having a good experience, but you've got the whole world open to you. What I care about a lot more than which programming language you start with is which communities you start with. So we've looked at a bunch of different resources for, here are things that will teach you to code. I want to take a look at Code Newbies. And Code Newbies is just a community. Just a community. And it's all about programming beginners. It's all about folks like you who are just getting started or have gotten started a little while ago and they want to help out. So here we've got a podcast, which can be a really fantastic way to hear other people's stories. We've got a podcast of things going on. They run their own conference, which is very, very exciting. And I think relatively low price. So if you're based somewhere near New York, you may want to attend their conference. But something I really enjoy is they have computer science research science podcasts, but they've also got chats. So if you're using Twitter, they have a Twitter chat with things tagged Code Newbies, and you've got a great opportunity to talk to other people who are also just starting to learn to program. They've also got a forum, which is a fantastic opportunity to say, hi, here's what I'm working on. Here's what's working for me. Here's what's hard. If you get stuck, or if you're discouraged, or if you don't know what to do first, coming to codenewbie.org is a fantastic way to talk to other people who are in a similar situation and are generally really happy to help you. Something I really enjoy is if you look at the forum, they've even got a help I'm stuck option. So you can tag your forum posts with I'm stuck. So these are all of the resources we were going to take a look at today. I'm going to go ahead and handle the rest of the questions. If anybody has any questions about anything we've looked over, we've got a fantastic question from Michelle. So do I know who's created Code Newbie? It's two people who've put it together, and I cannot for the life of me remember who, but they're fantastic. Oh, it's got started by Son. This fabulous person right here. If you want to learn more about Code Newbie or to fangirl with me over the fantastic person who built it, here they are. We've got some more questions coming in, so I'll answer them as we go. Someone named M has asked about boot camps, saying, I've got friends who've done boot camps and got really well-paying jobs on graduation. In other fields, a 12-week training course that results in a 6-figure job sounds like a scam, and probably would be a scam. Do I think that the boot camp bubble is likely to pop soon? So this is a really fantastic question. I have a lot of opinions on boot camps. Boot camps are generally they generally don't have an academic certification, which means anybody can build one. And that means that you get really variable quality. So you are trying to pack a year's worth or 2 years worth or quite a bit of knowledge into 12 weeks or 6 weeks. And I'm always a little bit suspicious. To be very clear about my own biases, my husband last year did go to a boot camp up in Scotland And to my knowledge, it's the only one that has an academic accreditation. So I think it counts as half of a foundation degree if you do some extra paperwork. I've seen people have a fantastic job with boot camps, and I've seen people really struggle. It really depends on the quality of the course, the support they have available for employment, and it really depends on what kind of environment you're in. If you're taking a boot camp in a space where there's a lot of demand for that specific technology, it might be a good fit. One thing that makes me incredibly suspicious is that boot camps tend to be very, very expensive. Anybody who wants you to pay $10,000, £15,000, I'm a little bit suspicious of that. And it's not just paying tens of thousands of dollars, pounds, euros out of pocket. It's also being able to support yourself, pay rent, and eat while you're not working for 3 months. I think boot camps have a place in the sort of educational framework of learning to program, but I don't think they should be as big a deal as they are. If I could get my mom voice on, I'd be much happier if you were learning to code online for free and helping other people as you go. And I'd be much happier if you saved your $10,000. I'm not going to call them a scam, but a lot of them aren't as valuable as they could be. We've got somebody else who's asked what MOOC platforms are best suited for internal dev training in small software companies. Okay. So I'm guessing that this question is asking about what kinds of MOOCs, what kinds of platforms are best for training internally for folks who are already developers or already technologists, but want to learn a specific new skill set. I'm so sorry that I don't have a good answer for that. So any of these free ones, if you're looking at 101 level stuff, is still really good. I know there's some fantastic stuff that Pluralsight's doing, but I really just don't have enough experience to sort of confidently answer your question at the moment. I'm so sorry. Cool, and I've got some questions in the question box, so I'm going to answer those and pop right back, I promise. Oh, no. So I've got a question from Daniel that sounds exactly like a question I would have asked yesterday. This is a great question, and I really appreciate it. Daniel's asking, hey, Jessica, I can't remember what I've learned in programming 30 minutes after I've learned it. I'll learn a library or I'll learn about a package, but then I keep forgetting them. Is that normal? It is so normal. Everyone does this all the time. If you hang out with programmers, and you should totally come hang out with programmers, everyone Googles or DuckDuckGoes or searches the most basic computer science things all the time. It's okay to forget about things. It's fine. I promise. I forget everything all the time. I promise it's okay. Cool. And somebody's asked, had some connection issues and is asking about whether or not we'll have these resources listed. Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and write this up as an article, and I'll send it out to everybody who's attended this podcast, the webinar, just to make sure. Oh, this is such a fantastic question. So we've got Mahret is asking, is there a good way to find pairs? Is there a good way to find a learning buddy? She's saying, I prefer learning with other people and a partner, and all of these online things are very lonely. That's a fantastic question. And all of these online things can be very lonely. So if FreeCodeCamp is fantastic for having different chat rooms for different areas, and they even have in-person meetups. So they're probably my first step. But also come on to Code Newbies. Come to the Code Newbies forum, chat with them on Twitter, and go ahead and say, I'd love to find a programming partner. These are two places where it's going to be really, really easy to find someone else who's probably just as excited as you are. Fantastic. I've also got a question from my friend just down the way in London, asking if I know of any sites that offer high-level overviews to show how things fit together. And here I'm guessing that it means high-level overviews of systems and computer science concepts. And here, I'd probably recommend, I really like the computer science courses on Khan Academy cover a lot of this. And some of the ones on FutureLearn and some of the ones on edX do have a higher level look at what these systems are like, what the computer science underpinnings of them are. So some of the resources we've already looked at are a good fit. Oh, fantastic. We've got somebody else weighing in. So we have an attendee who says they've recently graduated from a code school. And they say, I'm still in the process of looking for a job. And a lot of them fit in, a lot of the roles they're looking at are junior. And they tend to be about $65,000 salary start off. The attendee says that they don't really recommend boot camps or code schools because they found that there wasn't a lot of support. And while they were offered a scholarship and didn't have to pay for the tuition, there was a lot of stuff that they could have picked up anyway, and a lot of stuff they didn't learn. They now know HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Wow, that's a really exhausting list. So it sounds like you've had a mixed experience with boot camps and code schools. I hope looking for a job does work well for you. And I'm really sorry to hear you've had a difficult time with the process. I'm going to get ready to go in a second. Does anybody have any other questions I can help you with? Cool. We've got a fantastic question. So saying, we've got M saying, I understand that at its core, computer runs in binary, so machine code. And I can follow along with learning code and coding in response to problems, but sometimes they get stuck conceptually because they don't understand what goes on in between writing the code and what your actual machine is doing. It's a little bit like driving a car, even though you don't understand all the systems, but M really wants to know, what are these systems and how do they work? M's asking for what kind of resources might be a good fit to learn about how these kind of computational processes work. So for this, I recommend Computer Science 101, and it's a course from Stanford available on edX. So that might not answer all of your questions, but it's a course I found has been really valuable for learners who do want to know, why is this working? How is this working? Another one I also recommend is a book called Code by, I think, Pertzod. I may have gotten the name terribly wrong. And I found that book incredibly useful for understanding what sort of codes were conceptually, both computer code and human code. It's a weird book, but I quite recommend it. If nobody else has any other questions or anything I can help you with, I might go ahead and let you go. It's been absolutely delightful to chat with you all this afternoon. Please let me know if there's anything I can help you with. And the best thing is the Ask a Question button is going to stay up. So if you want to ask a question even after this ends, come in and ask a question. I'm going to go have a cup of tea, but I'll totally check this out later. One thing I'd also really love is if you can let me know in the chat box what kinds of topics might be useful for future webinars. You say, hey, I really want to learn about getting started with a text editor. I really want to learn about interviews or getting jobs. Let me know what's going to be valuable for you, and I'm going to be really excited to go ahead and build out webinars that suit your needs. Thank you all so much. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you have a fantastic afternoon or morning or midnight. Thank you all.